Hey guys, VaulSC here. Hope that you're having a good week. We're on to our final game of the Intelcom 2020 coverage, in which I was playing the Combined Army. First time in N4 in a tournament, and we've reached the final game up against my buddy Jono, who recently moved from Auckland, so I don't really play him very much anymore, but he has featured in a bunch of my bat reps in the past. He has classically been a Nomads and Caledonia player, but has picked up TAC, Tartary Armored Core, for this particular N4 event, and we'll be playing on the mission Supplies for the final game. Just bring up the table over here. In fact, we'll come to the table in a moment. Let's just take a look at his list straight up. So I'll be playing the Avatar for this one. I like the Avatar into Ariadne because there's not really going to be any hacking. I've got a couple of specialists, the Shrouded and the Caliban, to pick up the crates, and the Avatar can dismount the pilot, of course. But more importantly, there's going to be no MSV2, maybe some MSV1. In this case, she's got the Frontovic, so I'm hoping that Kodali does a fair bit of damage. She's a good way of chunking down the Dog Warriors and Antipodes. So this is not specifically what he's running, just a close approximation from memory about what he roughly had. I know that there was a Vet Kazakh APHMG, there almost always is in attack lists. Frontovic Multispectral Visor level 1. This has improved because it can see through smoke now, but otherwise still similar profile before. He did have a whole bunch of line Kazakhs, more than he needed to form the fire team. The lieutenant was separated out on a tower, not next to the main group, so possibly was in group 2. In fact, I'm pretty sure it was, because I remember him spending the orders on it from that group. He definitely had 2 Dog Warriors. I'm not too sure if it was one in each group, but may have been. Spetsnaz HMG, I mean, it's still got the BS attack shock, which is pretty significant, and all of the other goodies. It just, obviously in this edition, does suffer a little bit from not having the armor-piercing trait, but of course you've got the Veteran Kazakh for that. He did have a couple of bikes. I'm pretty sure there were dynamos. I just don't remember whether what profiles there were. He had enough of these SWCs to have afforded an AP Spitfire. Would make sense that it'd have something like that. But again, for supplies, also fast specialists are really, really good. There was at least one Strelok, possibly 2. I think there was enough camo markers lying around that he would have had a mine layer. But again, not 100% sure, because only one Strelok. In fact, both Streloks did have an impact on the game, so he definitely had 2 of them. I just can't remember whether one of them was a mine layer. I know that one of them was a forward observer because it did get to a point where it picked up one of the boxes, but as for the other one, not 100% sure. So, we'll have a quick look at the table. I won the dice roll and went for first turn, which of course is what you want to do if you're playing supplies, but more importantly if you're playing Avatar with Kodali Speculo. So, let's just have a look and see what we got. So this is a table, a look from the left-hand side view. Combined Army are going to be on this side over here, and then you've got TAC over here. So he's mainly going to be using the central building for his Link Team core. Avatar's going to be hanging around this corner over here with the Noctifer up the top. And Kodali and Speculo are going to be working to attack from this particular side of the table. If we can visualize that, of course there's 3 objectives in the center, which you kind of have to smash and grab and make off with. Okay, so here's my deployment. We'll take some photos. So HVT on the left-hand side. Our drone back here, the Liberto hanging out through the middle just to make it more difficult for him to move his stuff through the center. Caliban at the back because it's going to be wanting to repair the Avatar, which is going to be camping there. And Icadron way off in the corner, and Noctifer deployed on the rooftop there in marker state rather than hidden deployment because I want to use his order for fueling Kodali, and that's pretty much my whole deployment. I think there's a Shrouded further afield somewhere around here, but so much stuff held in reserve because of Strategos 2. By the way, a little Imatron tucked in behind the corner there of that building. So my opponent, he's filled this room up with Strelok and its ambush camo and mines and so forth, with the some of the Kazakhs downstairs with a bike behind the building. There's a Dog Warrior behind this building, so as soon as I see that, I'm thinking, damn, Kodali's going to love that. She's just going to be able to come in and nuke this guy, take the bike out, and there's another bike further up which I can shoot with the combi rifle. So that's what it looks like from behind here. He's got a, I think this is a lieutenant over the left-hand side. A bunch more guys on the rooftops. One of them's the VetCaz HMG. The other one's the Frontovic Sniper, which I believe comes down as a reserve trooper. Mostly will be prone there, though. So my avatar just gets plonked down right here. If he does stand something up to watch out for Kodali and the Speculo, avatar will just gun that down first, then we'll move on, because he doesn't really have any marker state stuff. I mean, no tank hunters as far as I recall. Can these guys even have tank hunters? Of course they can. So a tank hunter might have been slightly more difficult to deal with, but still doable. And then there's the Speculo killer just planting right in front of the door. He may not remember that Kodali avatar's a thing, but at either rate, he sets up this Frontovic sniper here, which we'll be able to see through the smoke. But the unfortunate thing for this sniper is that the avatar can just move out and deal with it pretty easily. So that's what happens. Avatar does move out with the tactical awareness order and is able to shoot at our friend here, this Frontovic sniper. Even with the link bonuses and everything, the avatar outclasses him here and just eliminates him. So this means that the Speculo killer is going to be able to come around and do what it does best, and that is, well, you know, killing things in close combat. Sorry, I might have used a bad euphemism there. What it does best in this situation for me is to throw a smoke grenade. So it's moving out. I'm going to set up the smoke grenade right over here. Nothing anybody can really do about it. Just trying to stay out of dodge range though, because we don't want them dodging away. And then the smoke gets planted. Very easy. You can see the position of the Speculo up here. And then the Kodali just appears on the side. We know that TAC don't have any hidden deployment, so nothing you can do about this. And then she's free to move over here, proc the dodges, and then move in, gun them down, possibly eat up some corpses on the way. So here she comes, moving towards the smoke, and the Speculo also running away just to preserve his life for later on. Because I'm going first, he's going to have that last turn push to grab the objectives. I want to sort of move out and act as an ARO Overwatch piece later on with that Speculo. Here we go, so I have Kodali moving in now. My opponent sort of cursing out loudly that this is really a terrible interaction. And like, I wholeheartedly agree. One of the reasons why I'm doing this is because I want to help raise awareness as to this kind of thing, which is not really, great in Infinity. I mean, what else do you do with your Kodali dropping down the side? Do you run her without smoke? I don't really know. I just think that Corvus Belli should change the way that some of this interaction works. So Kodali moves in, starts spraying down the wolf with her bullets. He can really only dodge if he beats her in a face-to-face roll, but that's very difficult to do considering she's on 5 dice with 17s. So she moves up, basically shreds him, gets the bike next, picks up a wound from his corpse because he went unconscious, then fires at the other bike long range with the combi rifle, annihilates that as well, and simply moves over here into safety with 2 wounds, which is a great turn 1 result. So that's all I really need to do in turn 1. My opponent now moves out with his other dog warrior and just walking towards this other objective. He also moves out with his Strelok forward observer and moves into this building on my right flank, which contains the objective box, the camp here, and does successfully pick up the box, moves into the corner with his forward observer shotgun goodness, and this little white pebble represents the precious supply crate that he has grabbed. We now have the VetCaz HMG, which stands up to take on the Noctifer. I decide to basically just have a shootout with him. If he gets unlucky, I'm in a hugely advantageous spot because the Noctifer will be watching the whole table. If he kills the Noctifer, I'm not really at a loss for very much there. So we have our shootout. The Kazakh does manage to win it. Thankfully, I would have felt bad for him if he failed that, but Noctifer is destroyed by the APHMG after that. We then have the other dog warrior, remember he's got 2 of them, putting smoke around here just to block off line of sight from the avatar or anything like that, so that he can move through and camp in that building to support the Strelok forward observer who's picked up the box. And then we have the Vet Kazakh going prone because he doesn't want to have his head ripped off by the avatar, of course, and can you really blame him? Okay, so on to Combined Army turn 2. My next move is to bring out the Shrouded Forward Observer and shoot long range at this guy over here. I was kind of hoping that I would bait him into putting smoke that would be touching his own model so that the Caliban could then move out and whip up that box off his Strelok more easily. But he doesn't really take the bait. Shrouded just picks up the box and then runs away, and that will mean we'll have a box apiece. So Shrouded, spending a couple of orders to move back towards my deployment zone, going prone behind a wall. This blue pebble represents the precious cargo that he's retrieved, so we are at 1 supply crate apiece. Then, after thinking quite carefully for a few minutes, decided to make the slightly risky play of moving through here with the Caliban. So, just to have a talk about this, Caliban's moving through. There's the Dog Warrior supporting the Strelok, who's in the corner behind the crates. The Caliban wants to get over there. And the reason why I think this will work is that he can't really do anything until I come out of Marker State. And if I go straight into close combat with a Strelok with a D-charge, I'm more than likely going to be gaining 1 or more wounds. So if the Dog Warrior shoots at me, I'm more than likely to survive, very likely to kill the Strelok, and then I can go after the Dog Warrior in close combat. And the Caliban's a whole lot better than he is in close combat. And secondarily, if I've gained some wounds, that will be a bit of a buffer against me having some bad luck and the Dog Warrior taking me out. So I decide after some thinking it through to commit to that. As you can see here, Caliban's able to move directly past the Dog Warrior. He can really only dodge or put a smoke down, so none of that happens. Caliban continues moving, and then with a new short skill, just moving through into close combat, a new order that is. And indeed, the D-charges go off in the Strelok's face, blows him up. The Caliban gains a bunch of wounds from that, and then can actually move in to continue gaining wounds via Prothion against this Dog Warrior. Without picking up the box, mind you, because that takes an extra order with an attack and gives this guy a chance to do something. So this black pebble does not represent the supply crate. The white pebble up there represents the supply crate. This black pebble simply represents the bonus wound that he's gained from killing the Strelok. I didn't have another, Corvus Belli power-up token available because Kodali's already using it. So the Caliban now enters close combat. This is a point in the game where I have a little bit of bad luck because although I'm consistently beating him, he actually passes a whole lot of armor saves here. Total immunity means that I can't use another D-charge because he'll ignore the effects of it. So we end up locked in close combat with the Caliban up a wound or two, but the Dog Warrior unfortunately still alive, which was frustrating, but that's okay. A little bit of bad luck, not the end of the world. So he's also transformed as I've ripped wounds into him. Also needs to be said. Right, so my opponent thinks about it and then decides that his best bet is to move out with the Strelok and pick up the box since the Caliban isn't watching it or holding it. As you guys can probably feel for me, my plan was to actually destroy the Dog Warrior by the end of the turn and have the Caliban either pick up the box or go back into Marker State or just camp somewhere where he can defend against this guy. Didn't happen, so the what do you call this guy again? Spetsnaz is moving around here, and he's going to come around through the back door. He's going to pick up the box, which is in these crates over here. Probably shoot up the Caliban in close combat, mind you, as he does so, and then retreat. So that's going to be his entire turn spent doing that. So as he moves through, grabs the box, as you guys can see here. Then as he starts moving away, he starts firing into close combat, damaging his own Dog Warrior as he does so. Now there was an interaction here which I feel probably got misplayed, and that was the fact that my opponent realized later after shooting into close combat that he actually had shock, and that me being on multiple wounds wouldn't make me ignore shock. I didn't have shock immunity. Reality is that for you to get shock to remove the enemy model, you have to put it in some sort of unconscious state. Simply moving it from 2 wounds down to 1 wound won't actually do that. So we may have misplayed it here. He did shoot into close combat. When we realized how our shock worked, we kind of didn't realize how it worked correctly at the time. We ended up removing the Caliban, but not removing his Dog Warrior. There was an order where he actually spent the turn shooting into close combat and killed both of us, which is something I would have preferred, but it ended up being a situation where, to be honest, I can't 100% remember. My opponent may be able to comment on the game, but all I remember is that there was some sort of misplay there. We didn't quite resolve it correctly, but the Caliban was removed from the table. I think the Dog Warrior was as well. I just can't 100% remember. What I do remember is that the Strelok does manage to get away into the corner, but runs out of orders when he's over here. This photo shows the Caliban in play right before we discussed the rules and then removed him. Elsewhere, we have the Strelok trying to do something, moving closer to the door, maybe placing a mine, just getting ready for that final last turn push. and then it's Combined Army last turn. So, couple of options here. I can run all the way over and kill the Spetsnaz and pick up his box, or I can do that and then come back without picking up his box, but grab the box in the middle of the table. And that's ultimately what I decided to go for, considering that I would have preferred the Avatar being on my side of the table rather than his. But we'll talk about whether that was a good idea once we reach the end of the bat rep. So as he's moving through here, I believe there was still a Dog Warrior still alive, although it probably shouldn't have been. Avatar does remove it anyway, and then from this position out in the battlefield, he is able to get line of sight to the Spetsnaz and destroy him also. Pretty easy when you're an Avatar. Then he does move into the middle and disembarks this little helper guy, who I believe is willpower 13 from memory. Might not be the case, but bad luck strikes here, and I failed 2 attempts in a row to whip power this. So on the third one I did manage to get it, but unluckily didn't get it really in time, leaving me with fewer orders to run away and secure the boxes. So with every single last order spent, including some coordinated orders, I'm moving the Avatar all the way back around here. He does have the supply crate, and I've got another supply crate here with the Shrouded. And the Spetsnaz was over here in this corner, but he's dead, and there's a supply crate lying on the ground. So my opponent needs to do 2 things. He needs to go and pick up his own supply crate, and he needs to kill either the Avatar or the Shrouded with a limited number of orders. So I felt like I'd got into a pretty good position, but we'll see what happens next. Final turn. Tack. The Lieutenant, able to climb down from this building, and goes and picks up the box. That takes 2 or 3 orders, but he does manage to do it. Then we have a Strelok moving outside of the building. I have still set up Kodali and my Speculo here to discover him and attack him. He briefly has to have a bit of a shootout with my models. Luckily for him, managing to shrug that off and not dying, which again was fortunate, and gets out of their line of sight. And he's trying to set up a position here where he's avoiding my flash pulses, which he does again manage to do, and with his last order just pop around the corner, fire his shotgun into the Shrouded, and if he does kill the Shrouded, the game will be a draw. So we play it down to the last order. The Strelok's got lucky to get there in the first place. He does come around. I don't get the dice I need to avoid him. The Flash Pulse does hit him, but the Shrouded does go down. So it turns out, game does end in a draw, despite me playing quite well to secure the win. There are a few problems here. So number one, did get a little bit unlucky. We did resolve the rules a little bit awkwardly with the Caliban versus the Spetsnaz. I did get a little bit unlucky not to rip up the Dog Soldier in close combat or pass the willpower checks I needed with the Avatar at the end. My opponent also forgot to put down an HVT. So my HVT is right next to the Avatar, nice and safe. If his HVT had for some reason been behind this building, I would have won because I would have actually had a model within 8 inches of it. Neither of us got it classified, so my opponent had to apologize at the end for forgetting to place his HVT. That could have been the difference between victory and defeat. I decided not to try and wrangle a point out of that and talk him into giving it to me, just because that it was probably more likely he would have put his HVT on the other side of the table, around there. So I decided to let that go. That's fine. My opponent got a little bit lucky to win at the end, but I thought he played well. He had to deal with the Avatar Kodali Speculo thing, which is really rude, obnoxious thing to do at the start. Again, I don't think it's a great thing for the game. I just wanted to make more people aware of how powerful it is and how difficult it is to defend against. Avatar, of course, performing very well with the shooting and everything. I might have been able to spend an extra couple of orders moving the Shrouded away. If I'd passed the willpower checks on this at the end, the Shrouded who was here in the last part of the game could have moved around here where he would have been obviously much safer. But yeah, cool game. Decent tournament. The only thing that really let this tournament down was the tables. This table in particular I thought wasn't the worst one, but it's still pretty bad. I don't know how you guys feel about it, but I mean, when you've got a sniper tower here which can see all of this, just the whole lot, and you've got objectives out in the midfield, it sort of turns the game of Infinity into one where you kind of have to pick the best HMG you've got or whatever it is in your list, and you have to make the dice rolls against the thing they've got up there. If it happens to be like a Knight of Justice missile launcher Ling team or a Kahu Feuerbach, sometimes you can just get unlucky and lose the game then and there because you don't have anything else to follow up when they crit you or whatever it may be. So it's just so important, more important than ever, that if you're looking after tournaments in N4, please just make sure that there's more terrain on the table, especially big line of sight blocking stuff in the middle. We really, really need that to be the case. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this coverage. I got 2 wins, 2 losses, and a draw. Came somewhere midfield. Still getting the hang of N4. I've still got a lot of these N3 tactics in my mind, but with a bit more practice and a bit of better list building, I'm pretty sure I'll be able to get up to speed with N4. And maybe sometime very soon I'll post a video talking about my thoughts reviewing N4 as a game now that it's been out a few weeks. So look forward to that, guys, and as always, thanks for watching the content. I'll see you around.